Oh, yes, it is quarter-final Thursday at the World Matchplay. Very well welcome back to the Fallout Bar from Online Darts, the only darts reaction show giving you all the breakdown of everything that's happened over the past, I was going to say 4 hours, but it's actually just 3. Thanks very much for that one. So it's lovely. Definitely. It is Carwyn Evans alongside myself, Jarlath Eaton, to recap all the action. I'm here for the next couple of nights talking you through it. And Carwyn, this is your last night with us here on the Fallout Bar. What's going on? You normally live here.
Sorry, did I disappear then, or did you?
No, it might have been me. It might have been me, but you there?
I am here now, and apologies if I was just smiling at the screen, looking useless. Your screen went blank, and I was like, "Ooh, what's happened here?"
Oh dear.
If you asked how I was, I'm very well, thank you. Enjoyed the action tonight, as you can probably guess. But no, you know what? Two huge matches that were technically won and lost in one session. I think the first semi-final was the second session, and then the second semi-final, the first 5 legs. The game was pretty much done and dusted there.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you, to be honest. Also, going to say it's your last night with us, obviously.
Yeah, it is this week.
This week. And the big thing is, about to say that you live here. What's going on? This doesn't happen very often.
No, I know, and you know the heartbreaking thing about it is I could potentially have been getting overwhelmed with excitement of an all-Welsh final, and now I will not get that experience.
Well, I don't know how you're going to cope, considering the way that a certain ferreted tonight, but we will discuss that in a little bit. Very welcome to everybody watching us across YouTube and Facebook. Thanks to GM for joining us so late in the day if you're in the UK or anywhere around the world. Really, it is a very late night. It always is after an excellent night of darts. To say hello to a few people. Then in the chat room, Malachi's in. Good to see Giles' beautiful face. It definitely doesn't look beautiful after last night. It was a very late night getting back from Blackpool last night. Very, very late night indeed. But it was good fun, though. It was really good fun. We ended up in the Coral Island Casino, as we always do. I can say that here because my missus will be watching, so that's all good. Christina as well says hello as well. Very good to you, Video Spurs. Always the chat room as well. Shelty's in, Gordon's in as well. We got Bob saying the machine and the ferret play some quality darts. Well, funnily enough, Bob, we will be talking about a little bit about the machine and the ferret in a little bit. But yes, and Liam as well from last night. Good to see you on screen last night, buddy. Hope you're all good. Over on the west coast of Ireland, James as well says a very good evening. And don't forget, if you want to comment, get involved. We'd love getting your thoughts here on the show. If you want to do that and you haven't already done so, hit the subscribe button. It's the only way you can do so in order to comment. Also, leave us a little like as well across the socials and across YouTube. Helps us out with the algorithm. Shameless plug. Enjoy. Right. Let's go into it then, because I think that there are two, like you say, there are two major stories to take away from the night, and we'll discuss. Obviously, the two major stories are the fact that James Wade again is at a World Matchplay semi-final, and Johnny Clayton's one game away from retaining the money that he won in 2023. Let's start then with Jan van Veen against James Wade. Obviously, had the success against the world number 1 Luke Humphries on the opening night, the defending Matchplay champion, only the second ever world Matchplay champion to go home in round 1. Then defeated Danny Noppert as well, and then came up against James Wade, who has been, I actually think, Carwyn, has been in really good form these last few days. And I think the biggest thing for me is that he just looks so relaxed at the moment. He's just literally just walking on stage like he doesn't care. And that sort of James Wade is a very dangerous James Wade.
Oh, definitely. As in, he seems to be playing with a freedom. Is it because people have written him off and he's fed up of ranting about that and he's just concentrating on his darts and letting his darts do the talking? Or does it sort of happen naturally when somebody like Luke Humphries exits the tournament on the first night, and all of a sudden your side of the draw becomes much more open? And I'd imagine most players on that side of the draw would have thought, right, Luke's gone, I'm targeting the final. And to be fair to James, he has looked the most consistent in that half of the draw. And for most of tonight's match, he was averaging a 10 plus as well, dropping below towards the end. But he seems to, I don't know, it feels like there's a weight lifted off his shoulders and he's just playing darts. And it's good to see for James Wade fans that they're delighted to see him back playing like this. But it's, I guess, for somebody who's been on the Matchplay stage for that long, it's a bit of nostalgia seeing him once again reach the Final Four.
I mean, Malachi is absolutely bang on there, from what I understand. Phil Bars in the press room was extraordinarily happy about interviewing Wadey again. But we will hear from James Wade a little bit later. By the way, when we're done here, you need to watch the full interview with Wadey because it is genius. He is at his absolute best at that one. I love it. When he's in full id-gaff mode, I do love it with the way he interviewed. But you mentioned, obviously, the way that he was playing up until now. Obviously, he's hit 104.4 against Joe Cullen, blew him away. And the same again with Vessel Nyman, obviously, 102.5. He came in tonight against a Jan van Veen that, I'll be brutally honest, I thought that he might go on and win this tournament. He will win lots and lots and lots of pots because that boy is special. Well, I say lots and lots of pots, maybe just lots of pots, because there's a certain 18-year-old that might just hoover up anything he wants to, which we will talk about a little bit later as well, because obviously it's second quarter-final day we need to preview. But this boy from the Netherlands, this kid's special. And it's a shame because of the way that Luke has transcended the sport, and rightly so. People will not really give, I don't think, Jan van Veen the credit that I think he deserves.
No, I think I'm with you there, actually. As in, it's sort of, he's going under the radar a bit. He's doing some special things on the dartboard, and darts fans who watch darts week in, week out will see what he's doing. But for those casual fans who attend events and who think darts only takes place for 3 weeks in December and a week in July. Well, 4 weeks, of course, it's been extended, hasn't it? But we'll probably think there is only one kid on the block. But I actually think Van Veen's problem tonight was he went 4-1 up and thought, "Ooh, have I got a chance here? Is this my year?" And I don't want to say white line fever hit him then, because it's a long way to 16. But when you're 4-1 up against James Wade in a quarter-final, it's hard not to let the mind wander to see what could possibly come next.
The big thing I think here is that he went 4-1 up, and let's be honest about it, he was playing shit. Well, both of them were. If we're going to call a spade, they were both playing pretty crap. But I say pretty crap. James Wade's scoring was absolutely phenomenal. However, his doubling was worse than mine in the Dog and Duck on a Wednesday, and I don't play darts for that reason. So that was his problem. But then he came out, and you mentioned it. It was the second session, obviously, when he absolutely cleaned that up 5-0. And then, obviously, when he went into the third session, I think he won that 4-1, if memory serves me correct. I think he went 8 legs on the spin and then won 9 out of the last 10. At that point, against Wadey, his MO, I've said this for a while, his MO is win the ball, win the first leg, break in the second, and then you're done. Because he knows he'll just hold. Because every time, or 90% of the time, you need to break him in 12 darts because he ain't getting longer than 15. So when you are in that position that you are going to break James Wade and you have got a double break on him at that point, you then need to hold on to it because that man is very, very good at comebacks.
Yeah, exactly. And he's been around long enough not to throw the towel in. He will just dig and dig and dig. And when you give him that chance, he'll take it. And all of a sudden, you see a lead disappear, and you're chasing, and you're up against it then, because as you say, he'll almost do the perfect 15-dart leg where he go turn, 101 check out. And
that's waiting.
Yeah, that's waiting. In a nutshell, that's him. That's what he does. And yeah, it's a shame for Van Veen, because I think it was a chance, but Wadey just waded him and slowly ground him down and just eventually took control. And once he got his nose in front, that's it. Then he's sort of, as you say, there's no stopping him.
Yeah, Bob mentions the fact that obviously it was 9 legs in a row. Excuse me, my maths is not great. I'm still in recovery mode from last night. It was great fun, by the way. It always is at the Winter Gardens. If you've never been, we always say you have to try and get a ticket. I understand it is the most difficult, probably the most difficult event to get a ticket for, bar the UK Open. But if you can get a ticket, 100%. I think a key turning point of the match was when Wadey was, I think, at that point. How many legs had Van Veen won on the spin? Just looking through my notes now. He'd gone at 13-8 up at the start of leg 20. Well, that was obviously at the end of leg 21. Giamma had won 3 on the spin, and then he had 86 left because he just hit a 140. Wadey then goes 134, 122 to put the pressure on. He left himself on 24. Van Veen stood on 86. If that double 16 goes, we're back to 13-12. We've got the game on throw. It could have been a completely different story. But then he misses 2 at 16s, and then second dart in, as we say, 15 dart. It's on the 5th visit to the board. He then goes and hits the double 6. And at that point, everybody who knows darts, or even if doesn't know darts, just knows, let's just shake hands, boys, because this is Romeo done.
Yeah, yeah. There was a few I thought legs where it could have turned. The 23rd leg I thought felt important when Van Veen hit the double 3 after Wade. Yes. He looked a bit nervous then. I thought, oh, this is the Dutchman's chance. But yeah, as you say, once you missed the 2 darts in the 25th leg, then Wade was just like, right, I'll hold throw and I'll win 16-13, and which is what he did. He just didn't bother trying in the legs against the darts and just went, I win my legs and you can have yours.
Absolutely. Lendl absolutely agrees with you there completely. Good evening, mate. Good to see you in the chat room. Always good. We'll touch on Wadey a little bit more because as it's your last night on the Fallout Bar, I am going to ask you about the Wade Clayton semi-final that we do have on one of the most special nights of darts anywhere in the world. There are probably 4 nights of the year that I think are top tier, or 4 days of the year, because quarterfinal day of the World Championships and day 1 of the UK Open are the best days in the darting calendar. However, quarterfinal day at the World Grand Prix and semi-final Saturday at the Betfred World Matchplay are the greatest 2 days as well. They are just, it's so special being in the room for that. So we will ask you about that. But a word on Van Veen. He's now gone up 4 places in the world. He's on to 410 grand. He ain't got much to defend, obviously, because he only won his tour card in the same year as Luke Littler. He could go and do some bits here, and he's obviously got a World Grand Prix that will be in as well. You've obviously got the Slam, of course, as well, where he made the quarterfinals of that as well. Last time out. I mean, he's dangerous. We know this.
Yeah, and what he is as well is an awkward draw for any seeded player. As in, you don't want to be drawing him in the first round. Well, look at Luke Humphries on opening night. As in, he found out what it's like to draw him. And as you say, it's a free hit. As in, obviously, he's not winning the same sort of quantity of money as Luke Littler's won, but they've both got the same path at the moment where they're not defending and they're defending a bit, but he can just go and attack and see where he lands. He's got nothing to lose, as in next year when the hard work starts, when big money comes off your rankings. But for the rest of this year, just go out and throw darts, because that's when you're most dangerous, when you're not thinking about it.
Yeah, James makes a very good point in the chat room in saying that 96k, obviously that's just under 25% of his ranking. He's obviously got the semi-finals of the Euros that's coming off at the back end of the year. But for the rest of the time, he's barely got anything coming off his ranking up until the point of the big stuff will be probably in 2025. It won't be until November, potentially, because obviously he's got the Slam quarterfinal, and he's got the Worlds as well from, I think, the second round as well, that 15 grand coming off. I mean, he's obviously going to be seeded for the World Championships unless something truly dramatic happens. I mean, he's going to be pretty much in a good spot at least to get to round 3. And that obviously nowadays is about 300 grand, it feels like, on the ranking in comparison. So yeah, that's a huge thing. But though for Wadey, now, before we go and hear from him, genuine question here. If he goes on, and it is a big if still, because he's got a lot of work to do. Everybody does at this point of the tournament. But if he goes on, I already think he's top 5 all time. And I know this is a very dangerous place to start the top 5 of all time debate. But there is only 3 men, I think. No, 2 men that have won in 3 decades in the PDC. It's just Philip Douglas and him, if memory serves me correctly. Is he top 5? I know you've got to have a world championship on your record. I get that. But for the longevity of the bloke to still be, it's his 10th semi-final in 20 years. In half of the match plays that he's entered, he's gone on to at least make the final 4. That's ridiculous.
Oh, definitely, and I think that's it, isn't it? The longevity of his career, and for him to sort of still be up in the top 10 as he is. He's not just hanging on to the rankings. He's up there or thereabouts and throwing his weight about. So I think you have to put him in the conversation, because what is he now? Early 40s, as in
maybe even 50 now, potentially.
Is he that old?
Yeah, it might be. Let's have a look. Yeah, no, you are right. Early 40s, 42. Meaning of life, 42.
So it's sort of it's amazing that he could potentially have another 10, 15 years if he wanted. And so I think it's hard not to chuck his name in the top 5, as in just because of being consistently able to do it for such a long period of time.
Well, let's hear from a clip, anyway, from the winner of the first quarterfinal of the 2025 World Matchplay, Wadey beating Van Vee by 16 legs to 30.
It was quite funny, probably played some of the better darts out of all dart players, and the whole Sky build-up for tonight didn't show me once. So that was quite, it's quite a proud moment of mine going up there afterwards and following it through, because I've probably averaged better consistently than most players in here, and I didn't get one advertisement. So that made me like a little bit more hungry.
Yeah, I love it. I honestly love it. Right, I know it's difficult for the boys and girls in the press room. I get that, because I've been in that scenario where I've tried to interview James when he doesn't want to be there, and there are sports stars that are like that. However, when he's in full IDGAF mode, it is one of the best things ever. It is great. I love it. But I can only imagine the press room when he hit the winning double.
Yeah, and I'm sure the question he got was, what did you think of that performance? And 15 minutes later, they still haven't got the answer. But I think that the thing is, though, only James Way will get away with saying that about not being in the Sky promo. As in, nobody else would have the courage to maybe mention that. But he's just gone up there and he's like, well, actually, I won my game, so I'm going to get my 50p's worth now and tell you what I want to tell you. And you may get an answer from me. But for now, I'm going to rant about what pissed me off before I started playing tonight. And this is what it was.
I like it. I'm here for it, because if you're playing the way that he's doing, obviously it's 104 in the first game, 102 in the second, and as you mentioned, the fact is that he was averaging near a ton, and it obviously ended up being 96.3. If you're playing that well and you're in a final 4 of the match play, I mean, look, I think that Dan asks, is Bars loud in the presser's led? Yes, he is. He did ask a couple of questions actually, and Wadey didn't tell him to Foxtrot Oscar. So we've all seen the Coldplay video. I can't remember where I saw that in the comments.
I saw somebody
Coldplay. Yeah, it will be. Yeah, Gordon said that PB and Wadey will be there together. So maybe the ice is thawing actually between him and Wade, which is always a good thing, because I've said this for a while, right? A happy James Wade, a James Wade that isn't constantly chirping at everybody. He's just very good for darts, because he's the great, in my opinion, as I said before, greatest left-hander to play. Certainly the best player to never win a world championship. He's just very, very, very good at what he does.
Yeah, and what he does is play the game simple. He doesn't overcomplicate it. He doesn't try flashy things. If he will do whatever he can to leave tops. We all know that. And that is how he will play the game. There's no, going for this to leave that. I will get to tops by hook or by crook. And it's worked for him. That's why we're talking about him now in his 10th match play semi-final. And is it a coincidence that him hitting this form, ice throwing with Phil Bars, is there a connection there? Who knows? But
who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows, indeed. I hope it isn't, because otherwise we'll be asking Phil to actually be at every event, which would be very, very funny indeed. Yeah. Right, certainly moving on to the other quarterfinal we had today, and well, I think it's only fair that we let the Welsh correspondent have the first word on this, because everybody thought that it was going to be a very close match between Stephen Bunting and Johnny Clayton, 4 and 5 coming into the tournament. This wasn't a close match. This was an exhibition of excellence and peaking at the right moments. The ferret is ferreting once again.
Oh, yeah, and I think what destroyed Bunting was Clayton, on his own throw especially, hitting 2 treble visits. How many times did he leave 81 after 9 in that game? And just, but I wrote down a few notes as the game was going because I'm quite excited. 3 things in that game for me won it for Johnny Clayton: his first 5 legs, his 140 hitting, and the amount of times he hit a treble or a double with a 3rd dart in hand. And because Bunting then is waiting for his chance to come back and bosh, game shot or 100. And I found it interesting, after the first session, the next 2 went 3-2 with him throw, and then obviously Clayton won the last 2 sessions as well. But it was a case of damage done in the first 5 legs.
It was. I think a big moment, and I know it's only early in the piece, but I think a big moment was when Bunting, I think this tops, it would have been 3-1 down, would have got his first leg on the board, and then Johnny goes and hits a 160, an absolutely perfect 160, all 3 darts in the middle of the bed, and you could actually see. Well, first of all, obviously you could see the finger, because you could always know the ferret finger, but you could see Bunting at the back of the stage going, "Oh, for sake, this is going to be one of those nights." And it was. You mentioned the 140s, and so does Video Smurf in the chat room. He hit 25 140 plus scores in comparison to Stephen Bunting's 12. When you're going 2-1, and obviously the game ends up 16-7, that's basically a 2-1 shot. That's how that. It's not a difficult game. Darts is a very simple game.
Well, definitely, and again, Clayton and Wade are similar in sort of attitude towards that. They will try and leave their favourite double in every leg. And I was sort of surprised that the 160 went tonight, because Clayton's record on tops isn't always great. But maybe only having 1 dart in hand gave him that I have to hit this sort of thing. But and after those first 5 legs, then he just bossed his own throw. I know he lost a few legs that he started, but I say a few, just the 1. But he just dominated his own throw, and it felt like Stephen was never in the Johnny Clayton legs, where Clayton was always snapping at the heels on the Bunting throw, and even the best players can't cope with that much pressure leg after leg on your own throw. It's eventually going to crack into you, and it's what happened, unfortunately, for Bunting tonight.
No, I totally, and the fact that he obviously ended up with a 118 as well, and the fact that he started on the 18s as well, because he knew that he was just for the fun of it. I love it.
Yeah,
I'm here for it.
But
yeah, I mean, look, we'll touch on Bunting here a little bit, because it's been. Everyone's saying, "Oh, he's having a good year." Yeah, he's won a couple of Pro Tours, but you go back to that Premier League phase, and it was shite, and even he admits that. On TV, he hasn't had the greatest of years, and certainly for the next few days, at least, he is still the number 4 player in the world. And obviously, he's done quite well on the World Series, and I think when reached 4 out of 5 finals, and that's all well and good and very lovely. But the World Series, in my opinion, doesn't count, and it's just my opinion. I'm just fortunate to have a platform to say that. So I'm not quite sure what to take away from a Stephen Bunting at the moment. I don't really know. I still don't really know what Stephen Bunting is, because I don't think he's played that well this week. Yeah, he beat Gando a little bit. Obviously, he beat Gando in extra time, and then it was 12-10 in that. And then also as well, he beat Ryan Joyce 10-8, only averaging 98. I say only, as if that's a bad thing, but you get my drift. I'm still not sure what to take from Stephen Bunting in 2025.
I think the hard thing when it comes to reviewing Stephen Bunting is because his online presence and his fan base and all this hype around him as a person has grown so much. it almost puts him on a pedestal that his darting game isn't at the moment. So because everything you see is the bunting mental army, let's go bunting mental, they're all chanting this, that, and the other. But as you say, in the big games this year, he's lost them. Even if he's played out of his skin, look at the Premier League. There's a lot of those games he averaged to 100 plus, but he lost them.
Yeah.
Ultimately, darts is about winning games. And if you win every game you play, you win tournaments, which ultimately turns into ranking points and is money in your pocket. Bunting has got things right off the hockey now. I think he's created a presence for himself where people are talking about him. Now he needs the game to match that. And yes, he beat Anderson in extra time, but I actually think he showed Anderson too much respect when he said, "Oh, it'd be a pleasure to play a legend on this stage." I understand he's a nice guy. I've got nothing against nice guys. I think we need them in this world. But in an individual sport, when there's X amount of money on a darts game, emotion you cannot be emotionally invested in your opponent. You've just got to concentrate on your game and thinking, I want to beat him, so I get to pocket that much, not go home with this much because I've lost to him. And I think he just needs to get a bit nastier.
I'm with you entirely. The thing is that, like, right, you look at it, and obviously he beat Peter Wright in the World Masters. That was in the second round. He made the quarterfinals, and he lost to Noppy in an absolutely brilliant game. It was 4-3. He averaged over a ton in a 7-set game. I appreciate it's only 3 legs, but it was still very, very good. And like you mentioned, in the Premier League, I think he'd averaged something stupid like 103 throughout the entire tournament, 102, and he was getting walloped every week.
Yeah.
And you do feel sorry for him. And obviously, like I say, World Series, he's done quite well. Do you know? Like, he's done quite well. He's made 4 finals, and he's won a Euro Tour this year, and he's obviously won a Pro Tour as well. So it's not like he's having a bad season, but for someone who, with the talent that he has, maybe the Lakeside title did come a little bit too early for him. Who knows? But with the season that he's had, and he's just started that renaissance a little bit. Will the bunting mental stuff? Well, that's great, and it's given in the presence, and it's given in the fans. There will be fans eventually that will be like, "Well, that's all great, but we would like you to win a few games." Do you get? I don't know if I'm being too harsh or not. I haven't been here for months, so I'm feeling in an app mood. Everyone's getting it. But do you get what I mean?
Yeah, no, but I think you're right. As in, darts fans jump on the bandwagon while things are going well. When things aren't going well, all of a sudden they'll cheer your opponent. And Clayton sort of alluded to that in the game where he expected the crowd to be more against him, but they turned to chant his name. And if you're Stephen Bunting, you've sort of gone from having all these people singing along to Bulletproof as you walk on the stage, you give it the big run, and then halfway through the game, you're 10-3 or whatever down, and they start singing your opponent's name. It's got to be worrying. So he just needs to just concentrate on the darts more, win matches, win important games, because again, he looks at Humphreys going out. He's the highest ranked player on that side of the draw. He's got to be thinking, well, I should make the final now. As in, I'm the highest ranked player. Nobody should stop me.
Well, speaking of making big tournaments and big events this year, finalists at the World Masters, only losing out to, Luke Humphreys, who's the, number 1 player in the world. It's okay. That's fine. Made a semi-final as well of the UK Open as well. Lost to Luke Littler in that game. Again, not necessarily a bad name to lose to. He's pretty good at darts. He's also won a Euro Tour. He's finished in the semi-finals and the quarterfinals in the last 2. He's also won a Pro Tour this year and reached 2 quarterfinals and a semi-final. Just looking at the notes at this point, right? I go back to the year of 2021 when I was really obviously still covering darts more regularly than I am now. And like James says, he's second on the year-to-date order of merit this year. And this is my point. I go back to 2021 when for that year, and I don't care what anybody tries to tell me, Johnny Clayton was the best player on Planet Darts. And I will have that out with anybody at that point. He won the Masters, he won the Premier League, and won the World Cup and the World Grand Prix. He was the best player on Planet Darts that year. He didn't do well, right? He didn't do that well, obviously, at the World Championships, but he lost to Michael Smith, who eventually reached the final. Again, it happens. It seems to me that the Ferret is getting back to the level that took him to, as I say, the best darts player in the world. I'm not saying he is there now, because there is like I say, there is an 18-year-old that is better than him. But right now, as you mentioned, second in the year-to-date order of merit, as James mentions there, this is a big year for the Ferret. And all I'll say is that come 2026, if something has to go dramatically wrong, in my opinion, for him not to be in the travelling circus, I've gone early. There you go. I've said it.
Well, he's certainly doing everything right to get included, and I think it's sort of. I feel like his attitude changed a bit, as in he obviously had to come down after that great year and lost his way a bit. Obviously, things happened in his personal life which affected him as well as it would with anybody. But it feels like he's back now doing what he does best, which is playing darts. He's playing with a smile on his face, and what we've seen from him this week is finding a way to win ugly against the Decker, and then finding a way tonight to win when he cannot miss. And I think if you can sort of balance those two performances and continuously win regardless of how you play, then it makes you dangerous. And I think because he's had no pressure on him, and maybe that's what it is now, is that it's almost Ferret 2.0, where he can just reinvent himself and do whatever he wants on the dartboard.
Well, obviously, he is actually now currently, as things stand, right on tonight, he is now on top of the year-to-date order of merit, has Johnny Clayton, with £223,000. Obviously, Little will have a chance to overtake him should he go on and beat Andrew Gilding tomorrow. And at the year-to-date at the moment, and again, it is early days to win it. It's early days. But he is world number 5 currently as things stand. So that's big. It's big. Big moment for Johnny Clayton this coming up. We are going to try and get you a clip of Johnny. If we don't get one in, head over to the YouTube channel, obviously, where you are now, or the Facebook feed. It will be out as soon as Barzi can turn it around in the press room. I can imagine that Clayton's having to do about 5,000 different interviews before we get to the press conference. But we will try and get you a clip before we leave the air tonight. If we don't, massive apologies, but the interview will be out for you to have a look at on the website and also on YouTube very, very soon indeed. As it is your last night with this, Carmen, I am going to ask you about this now. Big semi-final this. If you had told me this would be the semi-final at the start of the week, I would have been shocked, but I wouldn't have been surprised. Does that make sense? Because of the way both players have come in. Like, obviously, we all expected Luke Humphries to come out of this side of the draw because he's been in such, he's just Luke Humphries, isn't he? Like, he's the world number 1. But if he didn't come through it, if you'd have told me this would have been the semi-final, I'd have gone, yeah, I don't dislike the call. So where do you think this semi-final will be won and lost? Obviously, I'm not going to ask you who's going to win because we all know you're going to pick the Ferret. And again, I can understand that. I will save my pick till tomorrow, so you've got to watch the Fallout Bar for then. But where do you think the semi-final will be won and lost, do you reckon?
I think it's going to come down to those doubles, as in both players, and I know that's a cop-out in a way, but I think both players have shown this week they can come out the blocks firing, they can hit the combination finishing, but they've also shown that maybe their trusted doubles have let them down on occasions. And Wade especially, I thought, I haven't seen him miss 10s that many times in a long time. But yeah, well, probably is that, isn't it? But both can score, as in, obviously Clayton came out 5-0 up, Wade was 4-1 down, so they've both shown that they can, one can lead and the other can chase you down. So that doesn't sort of give much away, but both want it massively. So I don't think there'd be an issue with them being up for the game. It might be who can control their emotions better, with both of them knowing what a huge opportunity this is for them in the autumn of their careers, because neither are really spring chickens, and they don't know how many chances they'll get to be back at this stage of a major. So it's certainly going to come down to, I think, who can hold their nerve, and if it's a tight affair, who can ping that double with one dart left in hand.
The biggest worry for me is that if Wadey starts the semi-final like he started the quarter-final, Johnny Clayton will not give him the opportunity to get back into the game like Jan van Veen will, did tonight. I think that is a key thing. You can't be 4-1, 5-0 down going in out of the first session, because Johnny is a very, very good front runner. Like, he can. Everyone has their dips. It does. It happens. But I do think that Wadey has to be 3-2, maybe ahead at the first session, and then because then he can control the pace of the game. I think that is very, very crucial. We'll come on and talk about that a little bit later. Obviously, tomorrow we'll give you our full predictions ahead of the semi-final. But I'm guessing you're going to say Clayton wins 17-0. Yes.
No, I'll probably give Wadey a couple of legs, but
you're feeling generous.
I think it could go deep. I think both look so solid on their own throw that it could be simple as a couple of breaks in the entire game. But obviously I'd love Clayton to make the final, just to defend his money, but it won't be an easy task, because Wade's, if I had to pick somebody, barring Price last night, I think Wade as an all-rounder has been the best performer in this tournament so far. So it's hard to sort of write him off.
Yeah. Well, before we move on and talk about quarterfinal Friday, I'm delighted to say that Johnny Clayton has spoken to the media. And I've not heard this yet, neither has Carwin, but Philip has dropped us in. So thank you, PB. Here he is, talking his press conference.
I just want to do well. I want to be back. I want to be one of the elite players. I want to be back in that Premier League. You know, it's when you're in there, you've done something right, and that's where I belong. It'd be good, wouldn't it? You know, 2 Welshmen in the final. You know, we wouldn't have the Wales-England banter, but no, that's just a bit of fun. But, you know, it'd be great, obviously. If I get to a final and Gezi gets to a final, we've both done something right. So I hope you're right.
If it is Johnny and Gezi in the final, I fear for Johnny a lot.
Yeah.
Because there's one player I know he does not like playing. Yeah, and so there's that.
Yeah. He says that he likes to play him, but I actually think if it's an all-Welsh final, it's a repeat of 2 years ago, where Clayton just was never in it. If my mind isn't playing tricks on me, I think Aspinall won comfortably, didn't he? Yeah, so it could be a repeat of that. As in, to be honest, whoever comes through from the bottom half could have an argument to say it'll be the same as it was 2 years ago. But whoever comes out of that bottom half, I think, deserves the pat on the back for making it to the final, because it is tasty. But yeah, cross your fingers that Clayton will be the one there from the top half.
Yes, right. James makes a point. Van Gogh is defending a final at Minehead where he currently isn't qualified for. Look, Michael Van Gogh will be at Minehead. No matter what you might think, there will be a point where Michael Van Gogh will turn up to a couple of Pro Tours, and he will eventually get there. So do not worry about that. He will be there. We will be there. We will be there. You know, that's how it kind of works. Right. I know he's only got $7,000 on his ranking at the moment, but if he goes and wins an event, he in the words of Pep, we will be there. Okay, so it's absolutely fine. Right, let's go and talk about the 2 quarterfinals that are going to be happening nearly tomorrow, as you're watching. If you're watching us live, if you're watching us on catch up, then it will be today. So 2 quarterfinals then. Lucas Littler, don't know if you've ever heard of him. He's pretty good. He takes on a player who I think actually has been the performer of the week so far. Yeah, I'm going to call it. Well, no, actually, no, I'm not. He's the second biggest performer of the week. The first one plays in the next quarter final. But again, we all know who we think is going to win this game. Chat room, you know the score. Get involved with score predictions. We'll get some in there as well at some point. How does Andrew Gilding win this game in a best of 31? That's the problem, I think.
Yeah, I think that is the problem, as in, let's say he does win, it's going 29-30 legs. Can he outscore and outperform Luke Littler for that length of time? I cannot see it happening, unfortunately, in any shape or form for Gilding. As in, I think I predicted him to beat Dirk in the second round because of the clash of styles, and that Dirk would not settle to Gilding's pace. I cannot see Littler failing in the same way. I just feel like he will have more than enough control and more than enough temperament and the ability to almost choke Gilding out the game and force him to play faster because he's chasing from pretty much early on, I think.
Yeah, I mean, look, if What had gone over the line last night, by the way, the win, I tell you what, when What went 7-2 up, the Winter Gardens, just being in there live, being in the room, the Winter Gardens was in shock. Absolute shock. And the fact that you could only get him at 4-6 at that point to win the game, you could still get Littler at 10-11 to win at 7-2, just tells you the stupidness of how good the boy is. And he is still a boy. I don't care what anybody tries to say. But the last time we saw Luke in a long format, I don't think. I mean, I know Gilding made a quarterfinal last year as well, but I don't think that we've seen many times that he's played in those longer format games. The last time we saw Luke play in a long format game, he bashed up Martin Lukeman 16-3. That's how good he is over a long format. And yes, he played arguably the game of the year against Gary Anderson in the semi-final at that point to win 16-15 in the deciding leg. But don't forget as well, Wade played in the UK final and he won 11-2. It was great for me because it meant that I was home by midnight. So happy days, thanks, Luke. Let's go through some score predictions early doors. Gordon's gone 16-11. Luke, Video Smurf's gone Gilding 18-16. Look, if this goes to overtime, Luke Littler wins the game. But I respect the hustle. To be fair, James says 16-9 to Littler. Patrick says 16-6. Bob says Gilding wins it 16-14. I mean, look. I don't look. If you're going to pick Goldfinger, fair enough. But if you're going to pick Goldfinger, I don't think you have to. You cannot give Littler that many legs because if it goes that length, in my opinion, anyway, Carwin, I don't know what you think. He's just he finds a way. He's like the MVP of 16-17. No matter what happens, he finds a way over the big formats.
Yeah, I think if Gilding wins, it's probably over in 25 legs, and Littler has an absolute disaster, and it's 16-8, 16-9 Gilding.
Yeah.
If Littler reaches double figures, he wins the game. I just cannot see Gilding getting enough chances once the game goes to that many legs of beating Littler.
Yeah,
I actually think. Sorry.
Sorry, I'll let you go for the score in a second, but I'll just go through a couple more. Littler's gone, Dan's gone 16-10 to the Teenage Sensation. Nuke 16-12, says Malachi, and Shelby says 16-8. I will let you go first, though, my friend. How many legs does Andrew Gilding get?
I think he only gets about 6. I think Littler will have seen what's happened to some of the other big names this week and just won't let him settle. And even though Gilding's got his methodical approach to throwing darts, I just think because Littler will be that rapid in between in his throws that Gilding won't settle and it'll be one-sided, I'm afraid.
Yeah, Bob says the pace he thinks will help him beat that. I disagree here on this one because the pace of the game, because Gilding always says he doesn't piss about on the hockey, and I respect that from Andrew. He's one of those players that doesn't deliberately try and slow players down. He has his methodical way. He's like Duzzer in a way, who never slowed anybody down, but he just has a slow pace of play. But he never slows anybody down deliberately, and I massively respect that from Andrew. I met a couple of lads who were giving it the full beans last night, had the Goldfinger scarf, had the Goldfinger shirts on, who they came from Great Yarmouth. I said I'd give them a shout out tonight. So if you're watching, gents, enjoy, because I know you're up there for the rest of the week. Having said that, if he gets 4 legs, he'll be very lucky because you cannot give Luke Littler at the moment, Luke Littler, you have to produce something stupid in order to beat the boy most of the way. Like, remember that run on TV when he was losing with average 106, 107? And that was over 11 legs, really, 13, 15. You ain't producing 107 unless you're stupidly talented. And Andrew Gilding is talented, but he's not on that level for 31 straight legs. You're just not doing it. So, in my opinion, it's 16-4. Or maybe 16-5 if I'm feeling very generous. It's a Friday night. I'm feeling generous. I'll go 16-5. You can't at this point of a tournament. What I mean, again, I come back to this. this is like MVG in prime MVG days. You have one chance to get rid of him. You didn't get rid of him. At that point, the tournament's done. We might as well not even play the last 3 days. Well, actually, no. I don't think the tournament is done. I'll explain why in a second. But certainly in this part of the draw, this quarter of the draw is done. You cannot give yourself the opportunity, especially when you're 7-2 up, to get rid of Littler and then not take it. Littler wins it 16-5. Right. We are now going to come on to the man who I think has been the player of the tournament thus far. It obviously is Josh Rock. No, it's not. It absolutely isn't. It is the Iceman, Gerwin Price. And again, being in the room last night, I have never, especially in Blackpool, and I've done it multiple times, I have never heard a crowd like that for Gezi. I remember being in the room when it was obviously Philip Douglas's last match play and he was playing Gezi in round 1. Now, of course, that's extenuating circumstances because Phil is Blackpool. I get that. But the boos that Gezi got at the time, well, I've never heard anything. The only time that comparable, again, was MVG in the same year. Now, Gezi seems to have had a bit of a renaissance with the crowd. And I don't know what you think, obviously, as our world correspondent. I think that's helped him a lot. He seems a lot happier up on stage at the moment.
Yeah, he's definitely enjoying his darts again. And I touched on this last night. It's only a year ago when we were getting daily posts on his Instagram story saying he was quitting darts, this was the end, And since he's gone on a bit of a health kick, he's looking after himself, losing a bit of weight, playing phenomenal darts obviously helps that as well. But he just seems in a much happier place in himself and in a place where now if you come out against him, he strikes the fear of God into you because he's doing things on a dartboard which frankly shouldn't be allowed really. And I think we saw the difference in him in that sort of spicy exchange with Gurney at the end of the game, as in 2-3 years ago, Gerwin Price there gets involved in something and makes more out of it than he needs to. He just shook his hand, said what he had to say, and that was it. He was done with it, and not going back for the second bite of the cherry and sort of having to be separated by security on stage. So I think as a darts player and as a person, he's in a much better place, and because of that, he's playing much better darts, and because of that, darts is in a better place now. As for this matchup tomorrow night, I am sort of really looking forward to this game. I think it could be the game of the tournament. If we get the Josh Rock that beat Ross Smith, I think he showed a bit of vulnerability against MVG, where if we get him from the first round game and Price in the rich vein of form he's in, it could be... I think Price probably is too strong at the moment for him, but it could be an absolute corker of a game.
I'm not going to go as far as the game of the tournament because obviously I've got Littler winning, and spoiler alert, I've got Price winning. That in the form that both of them in semi-final Saturday, and on semi-final Saturday, game 2 of semi-final Saturday as well, when the crowd will be a little bit more suitably lubricated. Yeah. That could be the game of the tournament, especially when you look at the way that Gezi's playing at the moment. Obviously, won 3 Pro Tours this year. He's then obviously just coming into the match play. Made a semi-final and a final on back-to-back days of the Pro Tour, and then won his first Euro Tour, and obviously won the Poland Dart Masters. The bloke's in the form of the world number 1 right now. Like, he's the best player on planet Darts if you look at the stats, certainly from the last month. But then you look at what Rock's doing as well, because obviously Gezi hasn't had the greatest of starts to the year. Obviously, he lost to Connor Scott in a real close game in the UK Open, went out the second round of the Masters. So everyone was thinking, right, is this the time that he's going to fall away? But you look at Josh Rock, obviously, as well. He's part of the World Cup final. And obviously, that could still be hurting a little bit because obviously he lost to Northern Ireland. So I think you probably want to make a point. But obviously, Rock's on a tremendous trajectory as well. You know, semi-final of the UK Open, he's made in semi-final. He's made a couple of semi-finals on the Pro Tour as well this year. One in Leicester earlier on this year. On the Pro Tour, made a final 2 and then made back-to-back quarterfinals as well coming into the event. So both players are in half-decent form. And obviously, Rock's won his first big tournament, which I think is going to get him into the travelling circus again. This could be a really tight affair if Gezi drops a level. I think, because last night I feel really sorry for Dobie, because out of you're going to play against a bloke who's averaging 108.7 and it was just hitting everything, and the noise, by the way, the noise when he kept hitting the big finishes, you could hear the outside where the smoking area. To be fair, it was massive. So again, I don't know about this game a little bit. What were your thoughts? Where are you going? I'm guessing you're going to go Gezi.
I think so, just because of that performance last night. I can't see him dropping far enough from that level for Rock to match him and go better than him to get a big lead. Because I think if Rock wins, he needs an unassailable lead, similar to what Clayton had tonight, really, and just control it from there. I cannot see Price starting that slow that the game is one-sided after 5, 6, 10 legs, whatever. So I think Price wins, and could be tight for the first 20-odd legs, but then Price may sort of nick a few. And 16-12 Price, I think.
I'm going 16-10.
Yeah.
I think it will be might be 11-9 maybe coming out the final break, and then Gezi just rolls away with it a little bit. He wins those big moments, those big finishes that he starts. He'll just chuck it a 146, or he'll chuck it a 160. He'll give it the big roar. To be fair though, both players will be giving it full beans tomorrow night. Both, and then that could be quite spicy. That could be really spicy. I'm sort of here for that. James says 16-13 Price. Patrick's on 16-11. Gordon also saying 16-13. Price saying Video Smith saying 16-12. Bob saying Gezi 16-11. Malachi 16-14 to Rock. So to Gezi, and then Price 16-12. Yeah, I'm with you, Dan. Actually, I think it could be a night for the broken voices. 100%. They will certainly not be going into the karaoke bar next door after the match. No one going with Rock, which is quite interesting. And Bob as well saying he'll annoy the shit out of Rock. And to be fair, this isn't a criticism of Gezi, because darts needs characters. I've said this for a while. If you've never met Gerwin Price off the hockey, you would have the most ridiculous impression of what you think the bloke is going to look like. Because he's one of and I'm not just saying this, he's one of the nicest human beings you'll ever meet off the board. Genuinely. As long as you don't piss him off, and not many people do in this world, he'll do anything for you that he can do it. And that needs to be said.
I saw him at the local tournament, and he just had time for everybody. And this was this must have been before COVID, so sort of when he was just starting out, really, and hadn't won the Worlds, but he just had time for everybody, and didn't turn anybody away. He even scored after losing, because he expect him to win. I think he went out in the third round. He scored his game, and nothing but respect for him, really. For it's clearly he gets into the zone where he needs to get to perform at the level he does. And if you're hitting 108 average because you're shouting, giving the big I've got nothing against it, because I'm here for that sort of dance.
Absolutely. And on that bombshell, a nice bombshell, actually, I think it's time to end. Carmen, thank you very, very much indeed. It's always good to share the screen with you. And
thank you.
Enjoy your weekends. You've got
thank you. It'll be strange. It'll be strange watching darts on the telly. Well, I say on the telly. I'm at a wedding party tomorrow night, so it might be a case of watching it on the phone or something. But it's hard, impossible not to watch tomorrow night, isn't it?
Right, it's going to be a cracking night. Obviously, as we say, Luke Littler against Andrew Goulding starts us off at just after 8 o'clock. Remember, the broadcast starts at 7:30. They actually get on stage just after 8. By the way, as a side note, all here for that, because it gives Sky a chance to breathe. They don't have to rush everything, and it gives them a proper room to breathe. So more of this, please. And then straight after Littler against Goulding, it is going to be Rock against Price. You will not want to miss. It's very, very special. What looks like anyway, quarter final Friday at the World Matchplay. Do not forget that you can head over to the YouTube channel right now. If you're on Facebook, head over to YouTube. Once we're done in a second, watch the interview from Wadey, watch the interview from Clayton from tonight, and then we'll be back here for the Fallout Bar. I could be on my own tomorrow, which is always good fun. But we'll be here for the Fallout Bar straight after play. So do join us for that. My thanks to Carwin, my thanks to PB as well in the background, who dropped in the Clayton stuff, and as well for all of you for watching us live. And don't forget as well that you can catch us up at any time you want throughout the day. But we are down now to 6 at the World Matchplay. James Wade wades his way through once again against Jan van Veen. and the Ferret continues to ferret. Johnny Clayton beats Stephen Bunting by 16 legs to 7. They will contest the first semi-final. Who will contest the second? We will find out on Friday at the World Match Play. But from us all here on Online Darts, thanks for your company. Good night.